Sane Takaichi continues to be a spineless puppet on behalf of Donald Trump and the Zionist regime, as Japan refuses to condemn the United States and Israel's illegal war against Iran. Japan makes no mention of the United States' massive slaughter of school children in Iran, but instead repeats Western neocon propaganda about how Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Hey Japan, the last time I checked, it wasn't the Persians who nuked your ass. It was the United States. You know, the same country you shamelessly provide diplomatic cover for? So essentially, this is Japan making it their official position that they support United States and Israeli aggression against Iran and the mass slaughter of their people. What's even crazier about Japan backing the United States and Israel war against Iran is that this war is set to devastate the Japanese economy, as Japan is heavily reliant on the Strait of Hormuz for their energy needs. Japan imports around 90% of their oil from the region, and Iran has made it 100% clear that they do not plan on playing nice with pathetic United States vassals like Japan. This is just another example of how Sane Takaichi and the Japanese ruling class supporting United States imperialism actually hurts ordinary Japanese people. The United States completely occupies Japan, and they have no sovereignty.
With death to the IDF, death to the IDF, death to the IDF, death to the IDF, death to the IDF.
That's my shit, man. That is my shit. What's poppin'? My friends, my family. We're back again. We have a amazing episode at Nick at Prime Time in collaboration with the Homeless Left. They will be joining me here later today. I have to hear this again. I love Bob Villain and people who speak to power, because the IDF, they're being smoked out. You guys know that Israel is calling up, I think it's around 400,000 reserves. They have something planned. And things are not going well in Lebanon. That's why the only thing they can rely on is ranked terrorism. Over 800 people in Lebanon have been murdered over the last 2 weeks due to the increased Israeli offensive. But the IDF is paying a huge price for it. That's why there's nothing wrong with expressing your disdain.
With death to the IDF, death to the IDF, death to the IDF, death to the IDF, death to the IDF.
You guys can't say that's not a goddamn banger. Is it 170? I thought I read more, but this person says it's 170. The UK is freaking out about this. This is the fascism that the Western left allowed to be implemented in Europe, in Australia, because they repeated the anti-Semitism hoax. And it's disgusting, because you have like Zoran Mamdani supporters calling Palestinians who call out Zoran anti-Semitic, calling them Nazis. You have the liberal left in the United States that go along with this nonsense, and that's going to be used to implement the same fascism in the United States, which is why I don't tolerate it. Look at this. Police to probe death to the IDF chant by Bobby Villain at London protest. All to protect their favorite genocide, apartheid state. But I want to get to Donald Trump panicking. And you can tell that Donald Trump, he like lost a bit of his swagger in this step. Donald Trump is in shambles ever since Netanyahu got smoked. It's still up in the air. I just think it's kind of weird how Israel keeps releasing AI videos of Netanyahu instead of this motherfucker just giving a press conference. Benjamin Netanyahu's number one priority right now, as Tel Aviv is being dismantled, as Israelis are suffering through this war, is to be like some social media influencer that uses AI. So we see if that's real or not. We haven't seen Ben Gvir in a while. Benjamin Netanyahu's brother's been silent. And Donald Trump realized he lost a pep in his step. You can feel it. And now he's resorted to begging NATO allies for help against Iran, because this is how horrible this is going for them. And that's why I don't think a lot of people realize the historic moment that we're in right now. It's a massively historic moment where Iran is decolonizing the Middle East, and they are exposing the United States empire as the true paper tiger. What we are seeing is unbelievable. I cannot emphasize it enough. The illusion of the powerful West is being cut down. Because why is the United States the dominant hegemon, and has been ever since the tragic collapse of the Soviet Union? It's because this interconnected web of vassal states and military alliances like NATO that was never they engaged in never-ending expansionism, loyal client states in the global south, sellout puppet leaders in Africa, and Iran is dismantling this idea that this Western alliance is invincible. And we've seen the weaknesses of this alliance exposed by Putin. That's why I didn't say Iran single-handedly did it, because Putin already exposed NATO in the West and Ukraine and helped demilitarize NATO. Putin and Russia helped soften and weaken the U.S. empire, which leads to them being low on munitions. We have the Palestinian resistance in Gaza that weakened the IDF, that weakened the resources of the West, because they spend a lot of resources fighting the Palestinians in Gaza. We're seeing this united front expose this fake-ass Epstein regime. And that's why the fall of the Soviet Union was such a tragedy. The fall of the Soviet Union led to the dominance and the prevalence of Epsteins all around the world. And that is being undone in front of our eyes. And I've dreamed for moments like these, and we are witnessing it happen now. Because you know how bad it is when NATO is like, nah, Trump, we're good. Because Sani Takaichi, and I covered this in, you guys see the hotspot video, where this Thatcherite sellout, instead of condemning the strike that slaughtered school children, you want to know the only thing that Japan is saying about this conflict? Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. No condemnation of the aggressive offensive war waged by Israel and the United States. And it shows how Takaichi is a sellout to her people, a true neocon warmonger, and as I mentioned before, one of the most dangerous women in the world. Because Japan's official position as a government, in order to provide cover diplomatically to the United States and attack their enemies, they said, we believe in an international rules-based order where countries do not engage in offensive against others. And one of the reasons why they put out this statement is so they can condemn Russia. You guys see how all these vassal states work together to manipulate diplomacy and international law? And a lot of people don't need to realize that Russia and China, they abstain for a lot of these UN resolutions because they don't want to be a part of this political bullshit. So the Japanese government, in order to condemn Russia for fighting Nazis and saving Ukrainian children from the Epstein regime they planned to sexually traffic, denazified Ukraine. And Japan came to the assistance of NATO and the West by saying, "Oh, we believe in this rules-based order, international law, where countries never engage in hostile actions, even if there's a NATO buildup on their border, even if they're Nazis threatening their sovereignty." So, yeah, the rules-based order is a scam, my friend Wombat is explaining. And Japan played a big part in trying to legitimize that. And then it was revealed that they actually don't give a fuck about that, because as the United States is attacking Iran. The only thing they can say is, well, we understand because we believe that Iran shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. Said the country that was nuked to oblivion by the United States, not the Persians. So unbelievably pathetic. And Japan is a capitalist dictatorship. Just like always, you guys know that Sane Takaichi and her party, they're not getting the majority of support for their people. They called an election at a time where a lot of people wasn't able to vote. I was reading a lot about this on Japanese Twitter. She called an election during bad weather, engaging the same voter suppression tactics. The point is, there is no effective resistance in Japan because Japan is the one-state dictatorship that they claim China is. The same party's been in charge for 75 years. The United States will never allow a leftist in Japan, will never allow someone who's anti-Zionist in Japan. So what do I have here? Look at this graph, because I've been a consistent critic of Japan and their role in geopolitics, but the same way I'm not condemning the Arabs in the Gulf states because their leaders sold them out, because Arabs were sold out by Muslim Zionists in the Middle East. I explained how our African brothers and sisters were sold out by sellout African leaders. I'm not condemning the proletariats in those countries. I'm explaining the concept of how these Western democracies is not as free and not representative as people think they are. Because if they are, why is the will of the people not being reflected based on who governs the state? Because based on my coverage of Takaichi and my coverage of the state of Japan, you would think that their population is extremely pro-Zionism, but that is not the case. You got to know that Japan is one of the most negative countries against Israel in the world. The population, bro, Japan is only 1 point behind Indonesia. Indonesia is a massive Muslim country. And Japan, as a populace, is only 1 point behind them when it comes to unfavorability. That's how much the Japanese people despise Israel. That's how much they despise Zionism. We see Japanese protests and solidarity with the Palestinian people all the time in Japan. But meanwhile, if you look at the government is ran by Zionists. This is the Zionist fascism, the Zionist dictatorship in the West, where you're not voting this out. There's no democracy to get rid of genocide. And now people in Japan are furious with Takaichi because Takaichi refused to strongly condemn Donald Trump's war with Iran. But it doesn't matter how upset you are. It doesn't matter how hard you protest. There is no mechanism that the Japanese people have to get her out of power. But despite all of that, because I wanted to lay that out, despite how subservient Japan is to the United States and NATO, even they was like, when pressured by the United States to help in the Straits of Hormuz, they were like, nah, we're good. The best we can do is provide diplomatic cover for your mission by stating your official objective. We will ignore all the war crimes that you guys are committing. I mean, I had this Fortune article up, but this thing is a pain in the ass. Ad block like a motherfucker. I was going to show you guys this, but I'm sure I can find another one. Look, Japan says dispatching ships to the Middle East faces high hurdles. You don't say. You don't say. So, as I mentioned before, one of the strengths of the United States empire was the illusion of the system and interconnected web of alliances that essentially makes the West invincible. This has been how most people view the West in the new world order since the collapse of the Soviet Union. That the will of the United States will be enforced on the globe because what are you going to do? You can't stop us. We will wage offensive war against your countries, and we will have NATO and our client states unite against you. But now we're in a situation where Donald Trump is checkmated by Iran in such a devastating way that even allies like Japan are like, nah, we good, bro. We don't want that heat. We don't want that heat against you, man. And Donald Trump is bragging about dominating Iran and the slop you're getting from Fox News, fam. Bro, I've been watching these people like a hawk. You know, I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm a glutton for punishment because I'm like, how can you possibly spin this as a positive? They trying their best, man. They're essentially bragging about their terrorism. They're not accomplishing a single objective, even the minimalist objectives of the United States. But you want to know the cope? That like this is. I had to grab a headline. There's no way I can sit through this segment. I don't think my guests could either. But look, this is the pure slop that boomers are ingesting right now. Look, Jack King, this is checkmate for the Iranian regime. You mean the Iranian regime that is more emboldened and has more support in the country that has been unified by the United States government? Wasn't one of the stated objectives of Donald Trump is to create a climate in which the Iranian people will be able to overthrow their regime? In fact, it's the exact opposite of that's happening. There's massive support, massive protests, where Iranians are chanting death to America, death to the IDF, and there are people who was even skeptical against the Iranian government who are now in support of the Iranian efforts to fight against the West and the United and Israel. So they failed to accomplish regime change. They failed to take out the ballistic missile program, failed to take out the drone program. Where has the United States been successful? They said Donald Trump said he had to start this war to destroy the nuclear facilities that he said he destroyed last year. And what happens when someone is exposed as a loser? When they are surrounded by a bunch of fake friends that are using them only because of their money and power, you start to see them disappear real quick. So the illusion of the Western Empire was very appealing for these people when it was clear that being part of this web of the United States NATO system will protect you. It will provide economic benefits. But now, these Gulf states, the UAE, meaning these countries, they're realizing that they get nothing out of it. There's no protection. You're not as safe as you thought you was. You're not economically secure as you thought you was. Because Japan is feeling it, fam. 95% of their oil exports come through the Straits of Hormuz. So being part of this allyship with the United States is not even guaranteed to protect you in terms of your economy and the shape of your economy. And I want to bring this point. We have our guest at the homeless left. I'm going to bring in here in a few minutes, my friend Matt and Greg Pasta. But I cannot emphasize the reputational damage that the United States and their failed empire has taken after being humbled by Iran. There's been a lot of debate over the years over who will win a war between the United States and China. Fam, throw in the towel. Bro, they're getting fucking slopped by Iran. They're getting obliterated by Iran. Can you imagine what China would do to the United States after what we've seen? Iran, they were prepared. They had a very complicated plan on how they would respond to the West. You guys think China don't have the same kind of cards? You think they don't have the same kind of systems? Yeah, the debate is officially over. Like tankies like myself and people on the left, we would jab at neocons because we would say, if you think the United States could defeat China in the war, you are out of your goddamn mind. Now it's clear that that's the case. And the neocons that was in pure cult mode, the people who believed in G.I. Joe and Call of Duty propaganda about the strength of the United States, despite the fact that we lost every single war in my lifetime in the modern era. A lot of these delusional fuckheads was like, bro, if we ever fought China, man, we fuck Chinese up, man. Yeah, they got 4 times more people than us. Yet it has sophisticated AI military technology. But we got that dog in us. We're built different. That's the kind of shit that people can't fight say. I got that dog in me. Like, nigga, do you know how to throw a left hook? Do you know how to sprawl a takedown? Do you know how to slip and roll? Now I got that dog in me, fam. So let me quickly go over one of the losses here, and I'm gonna bring my guests in. After I'll show this, because United States aircraft carriers are getting obliterated. Like, we're seeing another evolution in war. In World War II, in the early 1900s, it was the land tank. The land tank was a big game changer in war. And then there was like this big armed race to build as many of these tanks as possible. And that marked a significant shift in the evolution of war. No longer are you riding on horseback looking like a dipshit, wearing a cape. That's what they used to do. They had the fucking guy in a cape on a horse. Yeah, man, charge! You're going to get tank shelled right in the face if you ever do that. So that was one of the evolutions of war that happened in the last century. And now the neocon class is panicking because there was another evolution that greatly harms the strength of Western regimes. And it helps level and even the playing field. Because now you have these cheap drones that can be highly produced. Guys, you guys realize they're using this drone warfare in Africa now? Like, drone warfare is used in the countries all over the world that have this kind of capability. But Iran has it at the maximum level because they've been prepared. Yeah, I think comparing drones to guns is another one. They're like guns 2.0. So in the Cold War era, you know what the ruling class and the neocon fell in love with? They fell in love with these aircraft carriers. And these aircraft carriers, they provided amazing utility if you're going to maintain and operate an empire overseas. You had a giant-ass facility that can, as you see here in this picture, hold many different fighter jets, countless radar systems. It's a great way to have personnel in international waters. Like, this aircraft carrier was used by the West in the United States. Yeah, floating airport. I love you guys' comments. I wish I could read more of them. You guys always provide great comments. I appreciate you guys. They're like a floating airport. These have been a crucial tool in Western dominance in the world over the last few decades. And now that shit has been completely exposed as ineffective in the modern era because the only thing the aircraft carrier is now is a big-ass target. It's a big-ass target. A big liability that put people's lives in danger. And by the way, these things are expensive as hell. I don't know the number. How much it costs to operate an aircraft carrier? I can't even begin to tell you guys. It's like billions of dollars. Oh, I'll just pull up this random AI shit. You see, there's hundreds of millions of dollars just for one unit. Like this, like the point I'm making, I don't know the exact numbers, but the point I'm making is that these motherfucking aircraft carriers are expensive as shit, fam. They cost a lot to maintain and uphold. And you know what Iran is doing? They are fucking these up. They're bleeding the West from their resources by dismantling these massive ships with cheap ass drones that cost them nothing. Yeah, here's another great comment. You guys are killing it today. You have $30,000 drones with the potential to take out a parked $100 million plane easily. You guys see how shit just changed massively? And you think the world is not seeing this? I'm gonna cover later with my friends Craig and Matt how the world is now looking at China. They're like, holy shit, the United States is not only are they unstable, not only are they unreliable, they're not the big lion we thought they was. So here are just a few headlines. These are Western media headlines. Big shout out to this X account for pointing this out. Sergey Everin. Good shout out to him for writing this up. But here's from Reuters. The era of aircraft carriers is coming to an end. And the story that I saw that led to the segment, because the USS Abraham Lincoln, they was forced to retreat from the Persian Gulf. You have all these massive military installations of the United States that are leaving with their tail tucked between their legs. You understand how much of a game changer this is? The United States bases in the Persian Gulf have been completely dismantled. So not only are United States bases being dismantled, you have aircraft carriers that are being forced to retreat. So, as I mentioned before, Iran is doing the world an amazing service in decolonizing the Middle East, showing the world that there's another way. All right, sorry, let me read a few of these headlines because I can't wait to get my guests in. We had the homeless left here with us. Let me read a few more of these headlines. I'll bring you guys in. Here's another one from Reuters. With its military ingenuity, Iran has proven that aircraft carriers are no longer impregnable fortresses, but merely large and expensive targets. CNN, a national trauma. How could a $13 billion asset be rendered ineffective within minutes? So according to CNN, you can have a $13 billion aircraft carrier that will be rendered completely useless in only 10 to 15 minutes. That's crazy. So you guys see why Trump is panicking? Here's another CNN headline. The return of the USS Abraham Lincoln to the United States in this condition is the biggest blow to the reputation of the American military since the Vietnam War. Unbelievable. So I want to get my guests in here now. I think that's a pretty good intro monologue. We had them on not too long ago. They do amazing work. I believe they stream on Rumble. We had Greg Costa, amazing citizen journalist, geopolitical reporter. Also, my friend Matt. I appreciate you for joining us today. How you guys doing?
Great. Just want to make sure you know and your viewers know that you are not talking to an AI. Here's all of my fingers. There they are. Here's my cup of coffee, not spilling. Or spilling. If I pour it anymore, it's going to spill. So just letting you guys know, we're good to go. Human to human contact.
What do you guys, since you brought it up, or at least you hinted at it, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Netanyahu's alive? Do you guys think he smoked? There's a lot of copium going on right now. I want to believe so bad. Matt, what's your thoughts?
Well, you gotta let Matt go first on this one, man, because he's the one who brought it up with the fingers and stuff. You know what I mean? Listen, at the end of the day, I think we all would agree that even if the head of the snake, what we think is the head of the snake, was really cut off, that snake would just grow another head. In other words, it's really not so much about Netanyahu and don't get me wrong, he deserves to hang. He deserves to die a miserable death, to live in hell forever, because he's obviously, the marketing says he's the guy who's at the head of this. But we know this is all about an ideology, Zionism. So as soon as he's gone, somebody might even worse might even step into his place, because, that's the real issue we're dealing with right over here. But, I think it would be a good couple of cool bottles of champagne. I don't know what Matt thinks.
Well, I mean, this is just another opportunity, a marker, as it is for us, as we are, we're independent journalists. We're looking into stuff. We hope our audiences are also looking into stuff, that we understand what these red flags look like. And so the fact that these AI videos are coming out, I would just say right there's your red flag. They're definitely hiding something. I'm not going to say 100% he's gone, but it's likely either he's no longer alive, or he is in no state to be on camera right now. But either way, they have not done a good job with this. Or at least I say the general public is starting to get in on. They're starting to wake up in advance. They don't have to look back 20 years to say, "Oops, we might have got that wrong." So I like that we're seeing it. We're calling it out in real time. So I like seeing that.
Imagine having a country that despised so much that you got to hide the possible death of your prime minister because people will party too hard. Like, he's missing multiple Security Council meetings. I'm not sure if he's dead. No one knows if he's dead. But he definitely got fucked up. Something, maybe he's disfigured. Maybe they trying to patch him up. To me, I think this is way too strange. Him missing multiple meetings. But I appreciate you bringing it up, Matt, because I wanted to do a segment on this. I'll make this very quick. This is a video from our brother Nico House. You guys know I love Nico. We always in the lab cooking at hotspot. So I want to show you guys this video that he made discussing the AI videos they're releasing Netanyahu. Because I'm not an AI expert, so I'm following the analysis of people who claim to be AI experts. You know what I mean? I'm not great at spotting AI videos. I will admit it to you guys right now. But people who are good at spotting AI videos are telling us that these are AI videos. So the question that we should be asking is why Netanyahu, whether he's alive or dead, why is he releasing AI videos and pretending to be a social media influencer while his country is at war? So I we don't want to be on this too long. I just want to play this hotspot for Nico House and then get your guys' final thoughts on the end. I think he did a great job covering.
Is Israel releasing AI videos and content of Bibi Netanyahu to cover for his alleged death? Iran is claiming that they can confirm that they got Bibi Netanyahu in a strike in Tel Aviv. Since that claim has been made by Iran, it looks like Israel has gone through extensive lengths to prove that Bibi is indeed alive. The problem is the content is suspect. For example, this video from a coffee shop was tweeted out from Bibi Netanyahu's account. Not only do AI detectors suggest that multiple elements of this video were made by AI, but in the video, you can clearly see that his cup is filled to the brim and he's just moving around without the coffee moving at all. He spills not a drop. And then the captions are clearly being used to cover up the fact that none of the coffee is being spilled. Now, I'm not saying that the video is completely and totally AI, because here you can see that there are people in the background with masks on, which is interesting, right? Because there ain't no coronavirus in Israel right now, which suggests that these might be stock B-roll videos that they recorded in case of an emergency like this that can then be later manipulated by AI. Also, why would they be wearing masks in that coffee shop, but nobody in the bunkers and all these bunker parties we've been seeing in Tel Aviv is wearing masks? That's interesting. And of course, there's also that pesky little detail that that coffee shop has been closed, because Tel Aviv is getting hammered right now by Iran. Then there's this video where his ring disappears out of nowhere. Then there's this one from just a couple of days ago where he's sporting 6 fingers. Now, I cannot confirm nor deny whether or not Bibi Netanyahu is alive. But if all of these videos are indeed AI manipulated, the question would be, why do you feel the need to do that if he is alive? And although that might be a convoluted topic to get into, maybe one should consider, when one of the most powerful men in the world dies suddenly in the middle of a war that he started, there might be a power vacuum that needs to be filled, and there are likely some players that wouldn't want to hash that out in front of the public and the entire world. So I, like you, will be patiently waiting to hear the news confirm one way or the other, or patiently waiting for more AI videos of this supposedly really very much so alive human being that Iran is claiming they've rid the world of. We'll see.
So I think it's an interesting discussion. And Pasta, you're 100% right. And people who make this analysis, they're right about how this doesn't mean the Israeli regime is going anywhere. But I think people need to realize that if it's true that Iran took out Netanyahu, that'll be the first time that the resistance ever actually took out an Israeli leader. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because the prime minister who died in 95, always forget their name. I'm blanking on it now. But wasn't they taken out by a European or some shit like that? So this would be the first time an Israeli leader is taken out by the resistance itself. And that shatters this illusion of invincibility that these Israeli war criminals had. So I think it'll be something worth celebrating. And this is something else that made me very suspicious. The fact that Netanyahu is missing all these cabinet meetings. Here's another one. I think this is the 3rd or 4th one in a row that he missed. So you're telling me that the prime minister who's been calling for this war for 40 years is taking a break as a social media influencer, as the IDF is being snuffed out in Lebanon, as Tel Aviv is being flattened? But anyway, back, Greg, do you have any final thoughts on this? And I can tie it with this question as well. Like, how will you analyze the effectiveness? Because I just did an early monologue how I describe how I believe the United States is lifting. Iran is lifting the aura of invincibility that the West and their allies have. So I start with Greg Pasta first. Like, how will you analyze the beginning of this war? Do you think Iran has been successful? What are your thoughts?
Well, I do want to reiterate that I think that you are making the best possible case scenario when it does come to Bibi Netanyahu. If he was hit by the Iranians, it would be kind of impressive that they can do that. I'm still looking at what's going on with Ben Gvir, right? And Netanyahu's brother, right? We've heard of these things. And I believe at one point they were trying to say that Ben Gvir was in a car accident and trying to play it down. We wouldn't know because we saw all the IDF soldiers going around taking down all the video cameras and the ring cameras, so we can't see what's going on. They're trying to keep a good lid on this, right? But overall, the same reason if they were to be hiding the death of Bibi Netanyahu and doing these AI videos is because Iran is definitely overachieving. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think we can hide anymore the fact that they were able to take down these STAD systems. And, while they were taking down these STAD systems, two things happened. Number one, they took away the eyesight and early warning detection systems from Israel and the West and their bases all over that area. And two, they're really starting to bankroll, really get into the tax dollars of the American payer right now for this war and stuff like that, because we're spending billions of dollars. I think it was $2 billion a day we've spent while they're spending next to nothing. And they've just getting rid of the stuff they've had on the outer rims, right? Like they haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes of what they got. And now they're on their 54th bombing campaign. And I have a source in Tel Aviv. So I talked to, not in Tel Aviv, excuse me, in Tehran. And I talked to him a couple other days. And it has been disheartening, the fact that, they've been, when you talk about the West and Israel hitting Iran, that they're taking out hospitals. They've hit about 10 hospitals. And when I asked my source, why did they do that? He goes, because that's what they do. And that's tough, and they're trying to keep up as best they can and keep the system going. Iran is, and I think they're being successful at it. But at the end of the day, I think this is an overachievement from Iran. And just seeing Caroline Levitt crying this morning on Fox News that they need help, Nick, to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Yeah. Hey, assholes, you're the one who made the move and made this happen. Now you're going to cry to your friends for help? Sorry, Iran is overachieving at this point. I'm not completely convinced they got a victory, a W, but they are leading by halftime. They're a big underdog, and they're leading at the half.
Yeah, very well said. Matt, what's your thoughts?
Well, going back to that AI video, I just want to say we've learned our lesson from previous PSYOPs, previous situations where in the past, the American people have been kind of getting in line and listening for instructions and listen to what they tell you and don't ask questions. We learned this from COVID. So I'm going to compare this AI video. Nick, you said yourself, you're not an AI master. And I think that that's key. We don't have to be AI masters. Just like during COVID, we didn't have to be doctors or scientists to know something was wrong. And so we doubled down on the fact that we're not experts in an arena where we can still, aside from whether we're experts or not, we can put on our critical thinking hats and say, here's all the things that are wrong with that, just from an obvious critical thinking point of view. And I'll say that this also needs to be mentioned. Here's a guy who's not showing up to his security meetings. He's also demonstrating that he has time to go get a coffee and go hang out with people on a patio, where clearly you wouldn't have time to do that, even if the coffee shop was open, even if you did have time to go make a public appearance. You're not showing up to these things. You're not meeting with world leaders. You're doing everything the opposite of what you would be doing. That's why we can call BS. So even if you go on Google right now, you say, hey, Google, tell me if Netanyahu is alive or not. Google will tell you, oh, no, he's 100% alive and everything else a conspiracy theory. But we know that that's a technique that doesn't work anymore. And I will double down on the fact that I think we've come a long way. I think the American people are smart. They've always been smart, but now they're tapping in to their critical thinking skills. And they're saying, that doesn't check out. You're not going to smear me and tell me I'm not a tech expert and I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this. So I think it's good, again, that we're doing this early. And to Craig's point, there's a lot of things to look at as far as whether you have the actual information being reported. So Israel's doubling down on not being clear on Netanyahu. U.S. is doubling down on the U.S. deaths not being reported. So they're going to run out of space on this. There are probably people working behind the scenes right now figuring out how do we keep spinning this. But the problem is they have a clock ticking. The more time that goes, the harder it's going to be to sell this to people. So Israel and US both have a problem with thinking they can get away with these quick little headlines. Nothing to see here. Everyone get back inside, put on another mask, and wait for Dr. Fauci or whoever, in this case, Pete Hegseth or Donald Trump, to get on the TV to tell you what's happening. It's not working anymore. And I think that when the time does run out, this is the key. I think on one hand, yes, Israel can definitely change the guard up. It's not that Netanyahu not being there is the problem. The problem is the game plan has been exposed. They can no longer play this victim and the most superior army in the world, the most amazing intelligence, the best weaponry, everything's great. Tel Aviv is thriving. You can't do both forever. At some point, you're going to hit a wall, and the rest of the world is calling that out. And we're seeing it happen in real time.
Exactly, brother. Exactly, man. Very, very well said. And in my intro monologue, one of the things I was discussing is the illusion of the invisible West being torn down. And trust me, these white supremacists, Western chauvinists, they know it. They're panicking, and they're cursing down Trump for putting them in this position. This is a quote-unquote respectable European politician who put out this video explaining why the United States must win against Iran. And to me, when I hear this, he might as well have a Klan hood on. That's how deranged he sounds to me. Because he explains how if Iran wins or even come out of this okay, it will weaken the authority of the West. Like, to me, like, this is as deranged as it gets in the ruling class, but he's presented as a respectable opinion. So I'll play and I'll get your guys' thoughts after the video ends.
So, as I say, had I been Donald Trump, which I'm obviously not, I very much doubt I would have started down this route. But once you've started, it is continuing unto the end, until it be thoroughly finished, that yields the true glory. It's more than that. It is essential. If Iran succeeds, if Iran manages to get through this, that will be an enormous blow to the authority of the West, both moral and the real power of the West. It will be a great boost for a government that wishes to have a nuclear weapon. It will be a great incentive for them to get a nuclear weapon. As we all know, it's Kim Jong-un who is perfectly safe with his nuclear weapon in North Korea because he's already got it. Whereas in Iran, as they did not have it, they were not safe. They could be attacked. So the continuation must carry on until it is completed and the regime is destroyed, because otherwise the defeat is much greater than if the enterprise had never begun in the first place.
What a certified psychopath. You guys see how he's dismayed at the idea that North Korea can defend itself. He's dismayed at the idea that Iran can even hold up against the West. But I'll start with Matt this time. I mean, what's your thoughts on your reaction to this video? I think it was pretty crazy.
No, it's like he thinks he's all calm and composed and he's saying something. There's nothing rational about that, but that's the mindset of, Western imperialism and Western just like supremacy, really. That's what that is. No, of course people have the right to defend themselves. Of course you're safer if you have the nuclear weapons. That's exactly. So he's making the point for us. He's showing us how Iran's been in this situation that it has not been fair to them. And now Trump and the rest of the team is seeing, here's what happens when people fight back. You have a right to defend yourself. Guess what? Hamas had the right to fight back as well. So let's be clear about the rights people have to defend themselves. So yes, he's giving away the game plan there, which is that Western countries seem to have a little more, I guess, breathing room, as they say, to do whatever the hell they want. And yet these people that we've been told are the greatest, most horrible, evil people in the world, the Kim Jong-uns, the Putins, the everybody else, these are people that are insane. They're crazy. We know that the Iran narrative is that Iran just went crazy and started bombing everyone. No, they defended themselves by bombing all the bases that have been set up all over the Middle East. So just that notion is just totally nuts. And anyone trying to break it down and justify it the more they talk, the more they give it away. It doesn't make any sense. And more people, again, I think, are seeing this bullshit. And I think the Epstein files, I got to bring up Epstein. The Epstein files is key in this, because we're starting to realize that the only countries not implicated in the pedo ring, in the crazy bankster, Satan worshiping, molesting child eaters, the only people not implicated are the people we were told were the bad guys our whole lives.
Yes.
What a coincidence. The same countries that were going to take over the world weren't doing that crap. So I just want to point that out.
What's the statue they burnt down? What's the ball?
The ball. That's the part you're not going to hear, right? That is the entire epitome of what Iran is fighting against. They're fighting against the pedo class. They're fighting against our rulers. So I think this is the first time in our history that the American people of Western countries, are rooting for the bad guy, as they call it, because they are actually coming after the people that have been controlling and ruling us and stealing and eating our children the whole time. They are going after them, and we should be yes, absolutely rooting for them to take that down.
You guys know I'm a revolutionary optimist, and my revolutionary optimism is really high right now. And Iran is proving themselves to be on the revolutionary vanguard on the struggle against the Epstein class. Do you guys see how, since you mentioned ball, they're burning ball statues in Mexico, fam? I saw a ball burning in Brazil. There was one in Iraq. One obviously in Iran, that's the one that went viral. But it's becoming a trend where a population will burn a statue as a ball as a rejection of Western values. I mentioned before, United States soldiers, they took a big hit to their aura after the Epstein files came out, because we all seen who you're fighting for now. We know who you're representing. But Pasa, I'll pass to you. But as I share this headline, I want you to react to this too. Plus any other thoughts you have on that previous video. Because I also mentioned this during my intro monologue, how NATO and their allies are like, hey, man, you're kind of on your own here. Like, Trump is begging them for help and European allies for help. And this is another devastating blow to Western imperialism. And because the illusion that they held over the global majority, because the global majority has been terrorized by this Western empire. But they was held at gunpoint because they're like, hey, man, you guys see all this interconnected web of alliances that we have, NATO. They all say no. They all say, we're not helping you with the Straits of Hormuz. Now Trump is in such a hard position. He's begging China for help. So here's the headline, and possibly take it from here. Trump demands NATO and China. Because that's what you do when the war is going well. You ask for your chief adversary to help you. Trump demands NATO and China to police the Straits of Hormuz. So far, they're like, we're good. Possibly your thoughts.
Well, I just want to say that, this has been a great discussion so far. Back in the days when you used to reject Western Empire, you used to throw a chair through McDonald's. Now we're just burning ball statues everywhere. We're advancing as a society. I think Matt is right. He's on to something there. It was like, now we're smart enough to go, we got you now. So now we're burning the ball statue. And like I was talking about before, Carolyn Levitt was on Fox News just crying about the Straits of Hormuz. Hey, the Straits of Hormuz are not closed for everybody. They're just closed for you, right? So that's what's going on right now. And, I mean, that's the thing, guys. Really, to tell you the truth, I can't help but to think that they're not this dumb. You can't be that dumb. I mean, because when you put up that headline, Nick, if I'm thinking about a movie, I'm thinking about a bunch of Chinese guys just laughing in the back room, like Xi Jinping going, they want us to help. We're the ones giving the satellite images so they can't get through. What are they, stupid? I can't believe that these people are that dumb. But I have said that we've gone through maybe one of the scariest administrations with Joe Biden, with all his cronies. There were the Victoria Nulands and all the, the people in his, what's his name? Antony Blinken. I mean, all those guys were scary. This is the dumbest administration of all time. Not only did they violate the Constitution more than any other administration of all time. I mean, Donald Trump, we had Karen Kwiatkowski on our show today, and she said, nope, Donald Trump wins that. I mean, the violation of, directing a national police force and ICE to tell them that they can enter in houses without judicial warrants. In other words, encouraging them to violate the Constitution. That's the worst administration of all times. But this is the dumbest administration. We have the dumb leading the dumb. No matter what Donald Trump says, whatever's coming out of his mouth. You guys know the whole story with the tomahawk oh, it was Iran had a tomahawk and they used it on themselves. Well, Iran don't have tomahawks. And, then they admitted, the Pentagon said it was us. Oh, I didn't hear about that. No, dummy, you're the one who said they used it on themselves and somebody questioned you about that. We have the dumbest administration of all times, right? With that being said, I still don't believe that they're that dumb that they didn't realize they were getting themselves into with the Strait of Hormuz. Like, what I'm saying? They had to see this coming. They had to have known that Iran was underground, manufacturing its drones. I mean, they knew this from the Ukraine-Russia situation because Russia was then using Iranian drones against the Ukrainians at one point. They had to have the intel. So the only thing that's on my mind, and I'm wondering what you guys think, and I don't mean to, I know this is your show, Nick, but I'm dying to know what you think. The Samson option. This is what it's all about. Where they get to a situation where they're getting beat so friggin' bad that the guy said we have no choice but to use nukes. A false flag operations, a bunch of Americans getting killed. They've been suppressing that number, right? Matt said earlier too as well. My source in Iran, about 12 days ago, I made the tweet. I said my source in Iran says the Iranian media is reporting close to 800 U.S. deaths or seriously injured. We're reporting 3 at the time. That tweet took off because everybody's saying wait a second, man, they're hiding these numbers. They're suppressing these numbers. So what happens when they do come out with these numbers and it's large and then they have a false flag operation on top of it? Won't they go to the Samson option? Because I think that's the only choice they have. That's the only way they're going to defeat Iran. There's no way. Iran said they can go on we're hearing reports that they can go on like this for 10 years if they had to. So
have you seen this, Pasta?
Scared.
Since you mentioned this, I wanted to discuss it, so I'll bring it up now. This is terrifying to me. Like, this is probably one of the most terrifying things Trump ever said. And it also confirms that what we already knew, but what the West would never admit, that Israel is actually the state that have a nuclear weapon. And listen to this clip, Pasta, and let me know if you feel a little bit better.
He also warned that if the conflict escalates, Israel may contemplate the use of a nuclear weapon. Has he shared that assessment with you?
No, yes. Israel wouldn't do that. Israel would never do that. And
so we're fucked, Pasta. If Trump says Israel would never do that, that means we're
doing it tomorrow.
So let me respond. It's because I did see this, and it is quite a tell. It is quite a tell. This is a guy who can't play poker. We know he can't play checkers or chess.
He's smirking when he says
now
Matt.
He can't play poker. But let's go to the chessboard reference. I got a chess because everyone likes to talk about 6D, 10D chess. Here's what this chess player, which is the Trump team, that the chess players are so cocky. So on one hand, I'll say this, Pastor, you're right about they have this thing in the back pocket is the Samson option. Also, this is the dumbest administration ever. However, what they're doing isn't just being dumb, it's ego. Ego took over. Yeah. This is the chess player who thinks he can play 10D chess, 6D chess, who just moved himself into checkmate. That's what happened. The Samson option is the equivalent of tipping the entire chessboard to the ground and pouting. So that admission right now we just heard is the threat of, sometimes before you take the checkmate, we can tip the board and it's like it never happened because I don't like the way you played and you look funny and I hate you. Which is I heard the gay. I don't know if you guys heard the gay thing. He's calling the new supreme leader gay now. It's like crazy. The guy, he's frantically freaking out. But can I just put this out there too? Other administrations have done this crap, not as severely, but they got away with it because they weren't dumb enough to say all the quiet parts out loud. And we told people this is what we were going to get with Trump, and this might be the silver lining. Saying all this shit out loud is our saving grace. We're seeing, like, you're telling us the stuff that Bush and Cheney and Obama and everyone else did behind closed doors. Yeah. Obama went right to war, no congressional appearance, took out Libya, Hillary Clinton high-fiving Condoleezza Rice. Nobody had any say in that, but the people didn't know about it because they did it secretly and they didn't talk all this crap about it. So this administration is telling us how bad they are, and they're showing us they can't actually play chess at all. We knew that. Some people didn't, but he literally moved us into checkmate. And I do think that Samson option might come into play, Craig. I think you're right on that. And that would be like basically taking the whole chessboard and saying, F it, we're done.
I always love having you guys on, man. This is a great discussion. It's great having. It's always good collaborating with the homeless left. If you guys are on my channel, make sure you guys follow the homeless left. They do great work, and there's so many different dimensions in which Trump has been checkmated. We're just scratching the surface, fam. Like, not only has he been exposed as a true paper tiger, as his inability to actually dispose the Iranian regime and protect his allies in the Middle East, and the fact that U.S. bases were destroyed, they pull in military equipment from South Korea and Southeast Asia to make up for this. They've been essentially demilitarized by Putin in their war in Ukraine, which is why they were low on munitions for this conflict in the first place. Leaving all that aside, they are losing their allies. Not only is this aura of invisibility gone, now the illusion of stability is gone. Because Iran released a message to their Gulf state brothers and sisters and other Arab countries saying, hey, man, those U.S. bases are destroyed and they're not coming back. So now this is our chance to shape our destiny. Let's have a Persian-Arab alliance that secures our sovereignty and protects our people without the great Satan, who clearly doesn't give a fuck about you. And there are people who are engaging in this like cultural revolution because of what Iran is doing in the Middle East. We've seen this in Bahrain and Iraq and many other places. But on top of that, they're moving toward China. Like, top allies are turning toward China instead and blame Trump. European allies broadly support building closer ties with China and believe America's role as a global superpower is fading. Oh, Jesus Christ. What did I tell you guys about what groupies do? When you're winning, when you're making the shots, when you're making the game winners, when you're averaging 26 points per game, everyone is cool with you. You're the star of the party. But once you're 26 points per game, drops down to 14 points per game. Once you start missing those game-winning shots, once you start slowing down a bit, using a sports analogy here, you start seeing those fans slowly start turning against you. And that's what happened to the United States empire. What did I just tell you guys? Look, they say they believe U.S. role as a global superpower fading. That's because the world watched them be humbled by Iran. The world watched them be humbled by Putin in Ukraine. The world is watching these humiliating defeats after humiliating defeats, and now they're like, okay, this hegemonist thing is not working. It's fun when you're the winners. It's fun when you engage in a war on terror that kills 3 million Iraqis, displaced millions of people in Afghanistan. But when you're the actual victim, when your economy is actually suffering, that's something different.
You know the amazing thing too, Nick, by the way, I was going to say that, people try to make this comparison, like, there's been also a lot of talk. I was surprised you haven't brought up the Democrats, what they've been going right back to trying to blame Russia again. Dick Blumenthal coming out of that meeting, out of that Senate hearing committee. I can't believe Russians are helping to kill American troops. Here we go again. That New York Times story. They're just bringing it back. This is completely different over here. You got to understand the level of ass kicking that's going on by like David versus Goliath. This is ultimate like Rocky story for me, the Italian guy, right? The underdog from the streets over here with none of the resources coming and fighting back against the big machine. They manufacture their own weaponry. They're the masters of manufacturing the drones, right? When Russia was taking on Ukraine, they were going up against NATO's finest weapons. We started handing over weapons to them a long time ago. Even in fact, it started with Donald Trump when he started giving them javelins to go after the tanks, right? So now we're up to a point where we were going to talk about giving them some of the most sophisticated weapons out there. They were arguing about it. This is, Ukraine. But Iran is using their own weapons. And also, I just want to also say, too, on another note, too, as well, when we talk about those Gulf states, the ones that America abandoned and used their defense systems to go out to try and save Israel and, abandoned Qatar, the UAE, Bahrain, Jordan. Those states, I wouldn't include Jordan so much, but the other three, they got to watch what their future's like in the future, because I'm suspecting that one of those countries, and I might be wrong over here, I'm not too keen to the region, but I do pay attention before, there might be an uprising in one of those countries. We're talking about the whole continent being reshaped. Let's not forget that it's not only oil that's can't go through the Strait of Hormuz. Fertilizer can't get through. So there's going to be some hungry people in that region, and we have to watch and see how this plays out, because the whole region might change, and it might change for the better for once and for all.
Very well said. What I put up here earlier before is another devastating checkmate by Iran, because Iran put out a statement where they said the Straits of Hormuz is not really closed, guys. I think one of you guys mentioned it.
It's closed for you, United States.
That's right.
That's what I meant right there.
It's genius. They're literally saying you can come through if you say you're not with. Just don't be with U.S. and Israel psychopath terrorists. Just don't be a terrorist, and you can come through. And it's putting people in a position where they have to make that choice. And it's actually a genius move. I don't think they saw that coming at all. It's pretty cool. And you're seeing countries respond, saying, wait a minute, maybe we don't want to be with the terrorists this time around. Maybe we want to keep our relationship, keep our oil coming through. And it would be being on the right side of history. What a great deal. I can be on the right side of history, and I can keep coming through.
Yeah.
And all I have to do is denounce this terrorist state of U.S. and Israel. Great.
And it's good for you politically, too. I explained how in Japan, Sane Takaichi is taking massive heat for not condemning the Iran war. So imagine if you're like you're a spineless politician, you actually don't stand for anything. The easiest thing you can do to get support in your country is to condemn this war, because a lot of these Gulf Arab states, as we explained, they got populations who support the Palestine cause. Like the King of Jordan may be a fucking sellout, but in Jordan, they strongly support the Palestinian people. So a lot of these people are going to do this for their political survival. And this is the death of the petrodollar right here. Like this is, I dreamed of this stuff happening, Pasta and Matt, and we are witnessing.
They're going to be shaking people down now. The Iranians are like, Japan, you want your oil tanker coming through? Now you got to pay a price. They're going to be just shaking people down, and they're going to be publicly putting it out there like embarrassing. Donald Trump's going to have to pay 5 times the price to get an oil tanker because one of his allies, whether it's India or somebody's going to be screaming about this starting in less than a month.
I mean, this is what they get. This is what they get for beating up the crap out of Palestinians all these years who didn't have the ability to leverage anything. You're just beating up, murdering, destroying, starving to death all these innocent people, laughing and gloating about it, sharing it on social media. And look what happens. You got spoiled with how easy it was. How easy was that to keep murdering? Hind Rajab, 300 bullets. Ha, ha, ha. Look at that. Calling 911. You're dead, little girl who couldn't even defend herself. Guess what happens? Now you're going up against an opponent who has leverage, who can say, no, we are not going to take this lying down. And look what happens. Look at everyone squirming because they had such a big ego. You can get away with everything that you got away with. The world will turn a blind eye because Israel, they have such that the Holocaust, it hurt them so bad. Let them have their thing. Let them do their thing. No, you ran out of time. Time's up, as they say. Hashtag time's up for you guys. And that includes our regime as well. So there you go. Be on the right side of history, guys. Come on. All you got to do is denounce terrorism and you're good to go.
Yeah. So for the people who haven't seen this, I'm going to read it. I didn't get a chance to read it. For the people who just seen this for the first time, Iran essentially made it where they will allow tankers to pass, but only if they drop the dollar. They have to pay for these oil shipments in the Chinese yuan, which this is a massive geopolitical shift. And this is our RBN account. Iran just quietly killed the petrodollar. So this is it. Iran has allowed the first oil tanker to pass through the Straits of Hormuz after the shipment was paid for in Chinese yuan. It's the first non-Iranian oil tanker to do so today without any incident, and it's on the way to Pakistan. Fam, we are witnessing a massive shift in geopolitics right now. And it's pretty incredible to see. And the only thing that Trump and his team can do is essentially bitch at like media outlets that tell the truth about this war. Like, it's bad. It's going bad.
They did. The guy today, he just tried to say he's going to start pulling licenses.
So, Pastor, does that sound like a side that's winning?
No, not at all. They were trying to say, Nick, that all right, so they were mad about the U.S. Abraham Lincoln saying that, it wasn't sank and it was still okay, where, there was conflicting reports, whatever, and stuff like that. we know at the very least they had to get out of the area. They had to pull back into the Indian Ocean because there was too many ballistic missiles going close to it stuff. But Trump was he was pissed off on Truth Social. He was mad, and he was stating that the crowds in Iran were not pro-government, that they were more anti-government than pro-government, that they were using AI. No, you can't hide that stuff. I mean, on Al-Quds Day, they had so many people out in the streets and stuff. And my source even told me, he goes, it's like a 3-to-1 ratio of pro-government versus anti-government. You know what I'm saying? The ones who still want the Shah back. And there is that aspect over there. It's not a monolith, right? We had on Dr. Satira Siddiqui, and she told us it's not a monolith. But situations like this, when there's only a bombing campaign, and I don't know what was going, this is why I'm saying they can't be that stupid. I know they're kind of teasing with the fact that they want to put boots in the ground, but they don't have the balls to do that. Dude, and forget about it. If that were to happen, they get the boots on the ground and they're American boots. Pitchforks better be at the gates in a week and stuff. So you think you're going to take over Iran with just a bombing campaign, that you're going to bomb them and they're just going to come to their knees? No, they're going to do what they traditionally do when countries get bombed. If it's just a bombing campaign, they stiffen up their lids and they dig in deeper. So even those who are on the fence now have become like this, you know, and more of a nationalist and stuff, and they're standing behind Iran. They had to know that this would happen. I cannot, they can't be that stupid, or maybe guys, maybe they are that stupid. You tell me.
It's incredible to see, man.
There it is. The FCC there.
Yeah. Like this is pure comedy. Like this is like, to me, seeing these capitalists fight against each other after this poorly planned war. It's peak comedy. It's peak content to me. And you guys mentioned Caroline Levitt a few times, and I didn't see exactly what you guys was referring to, so I searched it up. I'm not sure if this was the video you guys are referencing, but Caroline Levitt was having a meltdown over media outlets who essentially not covering the war the way Donald Trump wants. So I haven't seen this, but I'm actually interested in watching it. So let's play this, and we'll wrap up here soon. I don't want to take too much more of your guys' time. Let's watch this video. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this as we read some super chats and wrap up.
And we've been working 24/7 here at the White House to make sure the American people understand how much of a tremendous success this operation has been over the past 2 weeks. And it is abhorrent, some of the stories that are coming from the mainstream media. And these reporters run these anonymous sources as gospel truth, without checking with the people who are actually in the room. And I'm speaking about a CNN story alleging that the administration was ill-prepared for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That is unequivocally false. Let me be clear. The Pentagon has been accounting for this in their—
I think you should have ran with that story, because it's more embarrassing if he was prepared for it, to be honest. But let's continue.
Planning of this operation since the very beginning, and the administration is taking tangible steps to address it. CNN issued a correction on that story after I called them and spent nearly an hour on the phone rebutting it. ABC News using
crying like a Karen,
non-credible tips from anonymous tipsters to scare people in California that Iran was allegedly plotting to attack the coast of California with drones, again, based on unverified intelligence. They left that word unverified out of their story purposely, and we forced them to issue a correction.
So I'm not sure if this was the video you guys was referencing, but I do think it was kind of funny to show this, because this is not the stuff you do when you're actually winning a war. This is not what you do. So I want to get you guys' final thoughts on this massive Trump blunder. Make sure you guys follow the Homeless Love. We're definitely going to do this more often. I love having you guys on. Love being in conversation with you guys.
Yeah, it's
I'll start with Matt.
Nick, for
any
sure.
last thoughts?
Yeah, I would say she gave it away at the beginning of that with the whole, we've been spending every waking moment trying to figure out how to convince the American people what we're doing is good and we're winning. So you're not actually spending time on the thing. You're spending time on how to convince us. So we already know there's your giveaway. And all this like bashing the press, bashing people, this has been in the playbook the whole time. I think the AI thing from the earlier clip, that's interesting, because that seems like that's the Israel playbook. The whole accusations are actual confessions, and of course they're going to be throwing out AI accusations, because this is the thing we're seeing. They're doing the AI, and so so all of this stuff is grasping for straws, kicking and screaming, having temper tantrums. And there are other clips. I think she's in another one. They're all having freakouts. They're all coming at people. They're all punching down at people. It's pretty wild seeing this. But I will say there was that reference to LA, and I will throw this in there, because we should be aware that even while they're kicking and screaming and having this temper tantrum, there is the Samson option. There is other things. There's other things in play. We know here in LA, we're keeping an eye on it. We know that there's this FBI coordinated false flag that could be happening right here, right now, and blaming it on Iran. We know that Larry Silverstein, the big owner of the Twin Towers, that cashed in billions of dollars on insurance right before, he got the insurance policy right before 9/11. He just bought the big tower here in LA, US Bank, the tower. He just bought that. So we're keeping an eye on that. It's not, this isn't funny. We can joke about how they look ridiculous and crazy and they're all over the place as they're going down. And we can root on Iran, but we also have to know they could have a card up their sleeve, and it could be one here in LA, just to throw it out as an example. So we have to keep our eyes peeled as we go through this, but it is entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. We definitely got to stay in touch so I can so we can continue to discuss what the hell's going on. This is crazy times. Pasta, any last thoughts? Once again, make sure you guys follow the Homeless Love if you haven't already. They do great work. Any final thoughts, Pasta?
Yeah, it's all psychology, right? That's everything we're looking at. To me, I'm looking at, the psychology behind everything. And if you're explaining what's going on, you're losing. If you're trying to correct the story, you're losing. And that's what they're doing right now. They're losing. They're losing the narrative. They're losing the propaganda war. Unfortunately for them, TikTok, Instagram, these are things out there nowadays where just citizen journalists can get stuff out and about. And this is devastating to them. That's why at the end of the day, like I said, I always thought the Samson option was on the table, but it doesn't surprise me too as well. You were playing the video of that aristocrat from England with this Western, kind of exceptionalism, right? Like they're talking about, we can't let Iran survive because, if they survive, then they'll have courage and guts and grits, and that would inspire other people to go after their own national sovereignty. We talk about it as that guy was talking about it as it's a thing. It really is. Like, yeah, we can't allow them to have that. We're Americans. We're the West. We have to be on top. These people are barbaric. How dare they have their national sovereignty? How dare we let the Iranian regime exist? It's just going to grow more powerful, and it's going to beat back all the bullies. And if we're not having the upper hand, then Russia or China will be. So that psychology is still out there. And I think somebody also mentioned in this show that, at least now it's no longer overt, right? No, it's no longer covert. It's over. It's in our face. So at least we can tackle that stuff head on now as well. As far as Caroline Leavitt, her crying, it's the puffery of Donald Trump. He's always had that way. I'm the best at everything, Nick. I know you got the show over here. It's great. Hotspot's great, but it's nothing like social. You know what I'm saying? It's the best. We're setting records. Everything he does, even when he's explaining a bad situation, he's got to throw in how awesome he is, his administration is, and how great he's leading the West. So it doesn't surprise me when you hear negative stories out there. You have people just like Donald Trump, who he'll put in his cabinet, like Caroline Leavitt, whining and crying about it. Because unfortunately for them, they're just losing the propaganda war. And this should be the undoing of Donald Trump altogether. But if he's gone, what do we get? JD Vance. That's for another show. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
Very well said. I've been friends with Pasta for years now, man. There was Nico House and then Pasta. There was like the first two people who platformed me. Nico House was the first one, and Pasta and Fiorella were after them. So I always enjoy having you on. We
were first. We were first. We got you before Nico. It was election night, right? You were still. What was your old call sign? No, I think you guys were.
Hey, that's the one I used to have a different profile picture. That was before RBN.
Yes,
Pasta's the old school
night
homie,
we had you on.
Yeah, Pasta's the old school homie, so it's always great having you guys on. We definitely will do it again. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys check out the Homeless Left. I'm gonna bring my friend Zoya to close us out. I actually have a heart out. Zoya, hopefully you don't mind reading I'll put some of the super chats up. I don't have a lot of time this evening. Zoya, do you mind closing us out tonight?
It'll be my pleasure.
Zoya's love, Zoya's life. Yeah, the Fred that's when I was friend with Pasta before the Fred Hampton leftists. That was way before that. Me and Nico, I used to do stream with Nico, Rome. Pasta was like the first, I think legit voice. Him and Nico that actually was crazy enough to platform. I was really green back then. I was extremely green, so I will always be appreciative of them for that. But Zoya's love, Zoya's life. I'm sorry, I actually got to leave. I have a hard out. I'm actually running late, so I appreciate you closing us out. Yeah, I'm actually hanging out with my brother. This place we're going to closes at 10. That's why I gotta fucking leave now. I'm already kind of running a little bit late. So Zoe, I'll pass it to you. I appreciate you guys for watching. Zoe's love, Zoe's life. I'll see you.
Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. Let's get into some of your awesome chats. IB Denmark, Rathbone sent me. Rathbone is the homie. Thank you so much to him for exposing us to new audiences. You, hi Nick, curious to have your take on Kat Abu Ghazali. Well, you can check on Nick's Twitter how he feels about her. I think he just called her a Dick Cheney Democrat the other day. That's how it's just another Momdami psyop coming at you guys. We should definitely do a segment on her one of these days. Feed me Seymour. Tough times, you know, but grateful to have food in the fridge. Yes, indeed. We have to remember to have gratitude. In the belly of the beast, we have a lot of privileges. Jay Cloyd, YS1FM. Capitalism is failing on all fronts. Isn't it glorious to see? I believe some guys wrote some books about this a long time ago. Armand Vandal, voting is a spectacle. Well, when you're voting under capitalism, you're really just voting for your oppressor. So you're voting in a rigged system. So it certainly has become spectacle in these Western democracies. Luna Langton, direct action is the only way. Truer words have never been spoken, and Iran is showing everyone the best direct action ever right now. Fei Lu, Japan is a U.S. colony. How can a colony have democracy? That is such a great point. And all of these colonial outposts don't really have a democracy. Mike Ellison, for Palestinians, it doesn't matter. Dems or Republicans, both genocidal terror state supporters. Yes, it would be nice if more Americans understood this. And this is from Twitch. We have some comments coming in from Kick and Twitch. Nice to see you guys. Looks like Nick has very few viewers on Twitch. Yeah, we just got started there a couple of months ago. So if you guys can help us build an audience. Dark Nace. The U.S. never won a war after World War II, and World War II, they didn't win that one. Soviet Union and China won that, with 27 million and 20 million dead, respectively. In World War II, U.S. was just on the winning side. Yes, really important for Westerners to hear that, because what they teach in U.S. classrooms is pure propaganda. Garlic lasagna, Nick the Man. Casey McCoy, I now think China is doing an amazing job for the resistance. Feed me Seymour, Iran kicked out the empire from West Asia. Yeah, that's it was bound to happen eventually. Jake Lloyd, doesn't Iran, Russia, and China have hypersonic missiles? Yes, they do. P-Roy 23, Ansar Allah demonstrated that in the Red Sea. Ansar Allah definitely demonstrated that, and this was in relation to using $30,000 drones to take out aircraft carriers that are worth more than $10 billion. And yes, definitely, even in Vietnam, they showed us that too, that just having weapons supremacy, including how NATO flooded Ukraine with all of its best tech, it doesn't mean that you're going to win. And with drone warfare now a thing, a lot of US military superiority is really out the window. V. Olaf's daughter, love the homeless left guys. Yes, always awesome to have them on. BL Ake, Matt Weinglass is the coolest dude on the entire internet. Wow. Nice to see they have a lot of fans. We're lucky they're willing to come on the show. Casual Nitro Stroller. Yeah, Nick is not tech or Twitch savvy, but he's fire. That is so true, guys. Nick and I have like struggle sessions just to like monetize the channel or do any of these things. So we are boomers at heart, both of us. So any tips that you guys can give us to help us on the tech savvy side are always welcome. Monique Boyk. Great video, Nick Cruse. Thank you. Thank you for all the support. Gold Sky. Iran is liberating the Sudan. Yes, that's another important story because UAE is funding genocide in Sudan. And Iran, by attacking these Gulf states, has put a damper in all of their terrorist funding abroad. Peter Griffin. Undercover CIA assets and special ops are considered classified, and those numbers will never come out. That's a really scary thought. Like, how many of them are out there? Tens of thousands? Hundreds of thousands? Is it your neighbor? See, we have to stay vigilant. Myra Page. Hi, everyone. Hi, Myra. Thank you for watching all these years. Always love seeing the old school homies in the chat. Max Robespierre. All America needs to do is agree to acceptance of the yuan as the new international currency. Yes, that is all they need to do, but everything they're doing right now is to avoid that. Petrodollar is dead. Thank you, Carson. Don Hooligan. U.S. bases were supposed to protect countries, but they made them targets. They were supposed to oppress those countries and exploit those countries. So hopefully this creates the opportunity for any grassroots uprisings to succeed. James Starks. True anti-imperialists are pro-socialist and working class. Absolutely. Amand Val. The petrodollar collapsing is the end of the U.S. economy. They won't allow it. That is another thing for all of us to think about while we're doing this victory lap, and as we should, and celebrating the victories of Iran for multipolarity and all of humanity. This regime, this Western regime, is unhinged. These are people who have been committing genocides for centuries. So before they give up their fortune or power, we really have to consider what are they willing to do. And that is the death of capitalism. It becomes very chaotic and brutal and increasing war so that they can destabilize things while they basically rob the bank. So we all have to pay attention to what's happening. And faggots against, faggots against genocide. Okay, got it, I think. 25% oil, 20% liquid gas, 20% fertilizer, food for all the Gulf states, petrochemical, and helium goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Yes, it's a very serious economic choke point, and we will have to stay tuned to see how it plays out and what the crazy U.S. empire is willing to do to stop it. That was our last chat. Just a friendly reminder to please sign up to the Patreon. There's a free subscription option. There's also really low membership fees, like $3. Everything helps. We do all this work just from the solidarity and support that you guys, our working class audience, shows us. Please also make sure to follow us on all platforms, including Kick, Twitch, Twitter, and Telegram. We're trying to grow all of these backup options, including Rumble, just in case, because YouTube does not like these anti-imperialist narratives. And that is it. Wednesday, I believe Nick is going to have a solo show unless we book an amazing last minute guest. And we have a lot more awesome guests coming up. Dr. Sabrina next week. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, share, and always remember, everything you do matters. We must have revolutionary optimism and we will succeed. Remember, we have nothing to lose but our chains. Love and solidarity to all of you guys. Good night.